So if everybody is ready, we'll get started. My name is Linda Fisher. I'm one of the librarians here, and one of my areas is psychology. So I have the privilege of doing this instruction session. You all have your assignment, correct? I was looking for at least one person nod. I didn't see you nods. You're like, yeah, I got it. Okay. All right. So we're going to actually kind of work through the assignment because that will help familiarize you with the databases specific for psychology. So from this screen, we're going to go to something called the subject guide, and there's a couple ways to get there. You can go under research support and just click on subject guide, or it's also down here a ways. So I usually go from the top of the screen. So get to subject guide. How many of you are familiar with the subject guides here? Okay, that's all right. We have, the librarians here have developed subject guides pretty much for every major on campus. So for other classes, if you have assignments, you might want to go to perhaps a history subject guide or a business subject guide. But for this class, psychology, and we're going to get right into the guide. In this class, it's useful, I think, to work along with me, and then you actually can work through the assignment of these parts of it. We don't have time to work on that. So the subject guides are basically set up the same way. There's the home page, an encyclopedia reference tab, an articles tab, books, website, citation. Some of them have a couple of different ones, like this one has primary and secondary research definitions on there. And for this class, what is your very first question? Anybody know? If you don't, I know, I can tell you. Find the most cited article regarding reconstructive memory. This article cited Beast 1959. So to find this, the best way is to do what's called a cited reference search. Anybody know what that means? I'm going to try to find the article that cites, that has in the bibliography, they cite that. So I'm going to go to articles, and that's going to take me to a list of journal databases that are most often used for psychology. You can see the two titles, Psych Articles and PsycInfo. It's in the title. That's a kind of a no-brainer. That's all about psychology. The only one that does the cited reference searching is Web of Science. So that's where we're going to start. Web of Science, you could do subject searching, topic searching as well, but it is the only database that we have that actually lets you do a cited reference search. So this is the basic search. We don't want that. We want to switch it to this one. So this finds articles that cite a person's work, right? We want to find an article. We want to find the most cited article. Okay, so what do we know about, what are our clues? We know the author, right? Do we know the author's first name? We just have, all I have on my piece of paper is Deese, 1959. So let me go with that. Oop, let me spell it right. That's always a good step. These, I don't know the cited work. I don't know the journal it was in. But I do know the publication year, 1959. So how do I know which one to pick? I don't. I'm going to pick them all. And this one is kind of, they're all 59. And look, they're all in, all of them except this one at the very bottom, in the same journal, Journal of Experimental Psychology. So I'm going to go ahead and select all, finish my search, and then I get a list of 1,122 journal articles that cite Dease, 1959. But that's not what I want. I want the article that is the most cited. So it's the default is by date. So it's coming up the most recent ones. Here's from October 2018. It's coming up the most recent ones first. That's great. That's not what I want though. I want to see it by the most times cited. And we have a clear winner by over 3 times, right? Creating false memories. So we know it's on the right topic, right? Reconstructive memory. It's cited over 1,900 times. What does it tell you if an article has been cited by other people 1,950 times by other authors?
Does anybody remember? We talked about this last class.
Yeah. It's important research, a credible source, right? Okay. I think that's a reasonable assumption. I suppose you could be you could go to the far end and think, okay, maybe this is like they're citing this as don't ever do this. This is the example of don't ever do this, but it's not likely. But this one is cited 1,950 times. The next closest one is 613. So this article, Roediger and McDermott's, published in 95, is cited by a lot of other people, right?
So literally almost 2,000 articles have been written where they used this article as a source and decided to include it in their publication. So that's basically 1,900 times researchers, scientists, people in the field saying this is an important article. So this is one of the reasons why I want you to learn this skill, because as new psychologists, you're not experts in a field, right? So if you talk to somebody who knew reconstructive memory and you said, what are the most important articles in that area? If they're an expert, they'll be like, oh yeah, Dease, Roediger and McDermott, Schachter and Addis, of course you must read those because they've gained that experience, they know. But for you as new psychologists going into an area, this is a great skill to have because very quickly you can find those important articles, the ones that the rest of the community, the rest of the researchers have identified as those key, critical articles. And you can see we've been here working on this for about 5 minutes, and we already have a list of the ones that you definitely should know about. So it's a great skill to have, especially as early psychologists. And again, you might not know a lot about reconstructive memory, but this is like 1,900 people saying this is one you should take a look at. So again, it's a good skill to have.
And also, I think if you are, think about it also, once you see this, if you find an article on reconstructive memory and they don't cite this, when almost 2,000 other people, or you don't use it, You know, so if you're looking at articles on reconstructive memory and they don't include this, the McDermott article, it's going to say maybe this isn't an article I want to look at.
Yep. So once you know the big names in a field, you can then very quickly assess many different articles by just looking for those big names. And if they're missing those key articles, again, as Linda was saying, that's a good indication that they haven't done their homework. Or alternatively, it's not the area that you're trying to research in. They're in a different area, so of course they didn't cite that because they're not in that field.
So this is kind of an old article, you know, right now. It's still useful. I'm not saying that, but so if you wanted to look at something newer, you can actually look at some of these. This one, I've seen it, the default is always the latest one. So it's not surprising that the one that was just published next month, which is a time travel kind of thing, in the future, hasn't been cited. Why are the current ones not cited yet? Well, this one is, you know, published theoretically in the future, so no one has seen it yet except we can see it. I don't know how that works. I don't understand time travel. So,
but you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
If I was to read that article today and start a study based on that, the soonest I would get to publish it, if everything went right, would probably be October 2019. So, of course, anybody that read any of these ones from
although this one is
already got one,
and it hasn't been published yet.
they cited themselves. Sure.
Oh, that's it. Okay, all right.
But
we'll
again,
go with
it
that.
takes a while to build those citations. So citations are a great tool if you're looking for articles that are those classic articles that have had some time to accumulate those citations, like from 1995. But you definitely don't want to look for them for recent articles. So again, if you go by the time, you'll notice that all of these recent articles barely have any citations. Doesn't mean that they're not good articles, doesn't mean that they're not worth reading to stay up to date, but it takes a little bit of time to build up those citations. So don't discount something new if it has very few citations, but definitely use citations to find those absolutely classic critical articles in any area.
And we can do the same thing with this list from we can see the time cited here and see what that looks like. Oh, there's one about time travel.
There you go.
But look at, see, here's 2007, 2007, 2005. You're not going to get really recent articles that have lots and lots of citations. I mean, that just, when you think about, you know, how that process works, that makes sense. So when you're looking for something recent with citations, you're going to have to expand your definition of recent a little bit, or the number of times cited. You might be looking at 20 or 30 citations instead of hundreds. But notice they also give you the highly cited feature here to look at that. So the next thing that you have to do is find a primary research article. And how do you do that? Can you tell by the title? I mean, you can narrow your searches a little bit. You can do experimental. You could go by the article type a little bit. You know that a review is certainly not going to be research. Proceedings paper, editorial material. So, but you're still looking at 1,600 possibilities. So let's see if we can find one. Let's look at this one. Oh, right away, it says it's a review, right? At the very top, document type review. So I can pretty much stop right there.
And if you, just for 1 second, you also have the information in the abstract itself. So if they didn't have that document type review, you can just read in this first 2 sentences. It goes over more than a century of research has established the fact that sleep benefits the retention of memory. in this review, we aim to comprehensively, and it's already pretty much done, that this is a secondary source. They've read a whole bunch of papers and they've written this article kind of summarizing what they think those papers mean. So if you were a researcher and you were starting on the behavior of sleep, you were starting to investigate sleep, this would be a great place to start because they'll kind of give you an overview of the entire area. But again, it's secondhand information. So when you go and actually find their articles, you want to find those original ones. You can't rely on other people's interpretations of what they think is important. You have to go to the originals and see what they actually say.
Okay, let's see if we can find it. Let's see. This doesn't look like it either. What do you think? It says it's an article. They've done an analysis. Is it primary research? This one. Looking at they've done an analysis.
So what was one of the two things that we can look for to help us determine if something's a primary article? What was that?
Methods.
The method section. What are we looking for in the methods? Descriptions of the subjects, right? That's a very good first clue. And then the second clue, we're looking for another section. You want the results section, exactly.
Yes.
And you want to
with
see
all
numbers
the numbers, with all the
and jargon.
equations.
Yeah. So this one I would have to do a little bit more investigating on because they don't mention.
They don't.
Oh
mention,
no, they do. All right.
They do.
Oh no, they're being coy about it in this one. So they go in the
subjects.
Roediger McDermott paradigms subject study list of words. They didn't say that they actually had subject study list of words. They just said in general subject study list of words. But then they have all these multiple regression stats. And again, you don't need to know what that means, but you know it's not English. You know it's statistical jargon going on here. So for this one, what you would want to do is you'd want to open the article. If you're interested, you'd want to open the article and take a look for that method section, see if they mention subjects. Take a look for that results section, and I guarantee you they're going to have statistical jargon in the results section. But again, those are the two things. So the abstract will give you clues, whether or not it's instantly no, like we saw with the other one. Oh, this is a review paper, instantly not primary research. Or this one, I would put it about maybe like 80% sure from the abstract. It's probably going to be primary research, but you definitely want to just scan the document. Don't read it, otherwise you'll be doing this forever. But scan the document. Look for that method section. Does it mention subjects, characteristics, ages, how many male and female? Look for the results section that has all those statistical terms that you'll learn in statistical analysis. Let's look at this one.
Okay, so here it is. So here's the abstract, basically again. Now, what are we looking for we're looking for methods, a methods section. I'm looking. Not yet. Aha. We obtained data from 55, I don't know what DRM lists are.
Those are the Dees, Roediger, and McDermott lists.
I see.
Specially created lists. Now, this is a special case. This is actually primary research, but what they've done is they've gone and they've collected data from a whole bunch of different studies, and they've done a reanalysis of it. So it counts as primary research because their analysis is new, their results are new. They're not just reporting on what people have done previously, but they've taken that data and now they've reanalyzed it to discover something new. This is one of those rare cases where it's primary research, but they don't have subjects. So just be on the safe side. If you find one again where you go method and it looks, oh, materials, ooh, there's variables. If we scroll a little bit further, we have list variables. We go a little bit further. We got procedure, but no subjects. Probably better to look somewhere else because chances are it's not going to be primary research. Now, the results section, this is what you're looking for. Look, a whole bunch of numbers there, jargon over here. And again, you might not know what a T statistic is. You might not know what that beta is, SR, all these different things, but you know it's stats, right? You know it's not English. So this one kind of fails that 2 criteria analysis. Technically, it's primary research, but again, if it had subjects, then absolutely that's the easiest way to tell. Subjects, characteristics, results section with those statistical terms and jargon.
Okay, let's take, since I know that you have to find one more recent, let's take, sometimes that you're all in there, to try and find a primary research article on your own with the parameters of 2008 to 2018.
And while everybody's doing that, I'll just give you a little bit of a hint in terms of choosing an article. So remember that these articles that you're finding, they're going to form the basis of your literature review. They're going to form the basis of your background information for the research paper that we're writing in P211. What that means is you are going to need to read this, right? So you have options, you have choices. There are a number of different articles that will fit this particular criteria for question number 2. So what you don't want to do is just pick the first article that you find and say, that's the one that I'm going to use, because once you submit an article and it's been approved, that's your article. That's the one that you're using for your analysis. So let's say, for example, this is the first one that pops up, and you're looking there, and it's September 2014, so it's recent enough. And you're looking there, and it's like recent progress in restrictive random access memories, material switching mechanisms, and performance. That sounds like a computer thing, but let's say that this was something that fit the criteria: primary research, psychology, reconstructive memory, recent enough. It fits everything. It's 59 pages. So ask yourself, when it's coming, midway through the semester and you have to write your introduction, do you really want to read 59 pages so that you can, have that background information? Or would you rather, say, read 8 pages, right? So there are tons of articles on reconstructive memory. Pick one that interests you, that satisfies the criteria. It has to be recent, it has to be primary research, but you can pick one that interests you. You can pick one that is, not a 59-page monstrosity, just to make it easier on yourself later on. So this is a chance as well to kind of indulge some of your interests in psychology. So if you're interested in child development, pick a reconstructive experiment, pick a reconstructive memory article that has to do with children. If you're interested in, the psychology of aging, pick one that had to do with elderly subjects.
That's not always because of me. But memory and aging.
Okay. Whatever your area of interest is, you could probably find, a reconstructive memory article in that area. So make it easy on yourself. As you go on in your psychology career, you're going to lose that luxury. So for me, myself, I can't pick and choose the articles that I'm going to read. If they're in the area, I have to be knowledgeable about them, even if they're a 59-page monstrosity. You're not at that level yet, so take advantage of it while you still can. For number 2, it's open-ended. There's a ton out there that'll satisfy those criteria. Make it easy on yourself. Pick one that you're going to enjoy reading to make this process a little bit easier.
Well, that one didn't look right. I've only got a 50.
Oh, and avoid Bayesian. unless you love mathematics. And Dr. Ritchie right now is doing a project where she needs to bone up on Bayesian theory. And I saw her carrying around the biggest textbook I've ever seen in her hands. And when I asked her about, Bayesian, I've never seen her roll her eyes quite so hard. It's difficult. So that's what I'm saying. If you were in reconstructive memory, if this was your field and you graduated from grad school and you're working on research, you're going to be reading this. This is one of the ones that you're going to have to read. Right now for you, unless you love prior probabilities and complex mathematics, maybe not one to use. Definitely satisfies the criteria, but again, one that you might want to avoid for this project.
I think it's a good idea then, based on what he's just said. Pick a couple. Pick a couple, do the page length, but also do something that's interesting to you, right?
So if you love family psychology, if you just love, the analysis of dynamics of a family relationship, well, then maybe do adolescents and parents reconstructive memories about their conflict as a function of adolescent attachment.
So this
might
is
be the one for you.
So this one, if somebody picks it, looks to me like it could be primary research. Based on the very first line, study examined whether 17-year-old adolescents, they studied 189 of them, and their parents reconstructed their memory for an adolescent parent laboratory conflict. So this is a possibility, right? We still have to look at the article though. So how many of you are having success? Not yet. Okay, do the basic search. There you go. It might work better to do reconstructed memory in quotes, so then you have those words together. Once you get, that's fine. You find something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You actually need PDF. So what you're going to be doing is you're actually going to get the PDFs for the articles, and that's what you're going to upload. So during this assignment, wherever you can store these PDFs, Linda will show you how to download them or how to get them sent to you if they don't have automatic downloads. But what you want to do again is get the actual PDFs of the articles, and that's what you're going to upload to Canvas to complete this assignment.
I'm not sure if it's really here. Let me see. Okay. So once you were there, all you need to do is click on the tab. Let me go back. The creating false memory, where it says look up full text. It happens to be there. You just have to click on it. And then you can just save it.
So this is the PDF of the file, and you actually want to go to that arrow. Not quick enough.
Yeah, it wasn't quick enough.
Go to that arrow right there. That'll download it onto your hard drive. And make sure that you rename this according to the assignment. So this one has got to be named 1 dash, whatever you want to name it, but I need that 1 dash to let me know this is your answer for question number 1. And then another thing, if you can go back to the Web of Science tab. So you got this lookup full text, and there's also this one get it, and I don't know why, but it never shows the icon correctly. But that one is also a way to access
We'll show that more in when we go into the
Okay.
site. It's a little easier. Doesn't have a cite feature, which is too bad. I know, you can save it to EndNote, but it doesn't have a cite feature, so EBSCOhost is the best for that.
Yeah.
Huh? I thought it used to.
This is new.
Hot papers in the field, there's
Yeah.
only one.
I know.
What is the hot? Well, we might as well look at it.
What is the hot paper? 8 times. No, but 8 times from this year.
Effects of exercise on memory function.
Young middle-aged adults. Systematic review. Yeah.
It's not. Darn, huh?
People love a review paper.
Okay, I'm gonna have you just save those windows that you're in, open another window, and we'll go back to the articles section of the subject guide. And we're going to go to Psych Articles, which is an EBSCOhost database. So I don't want you to close anything out because I want you to work on this later. And there was Psych Articles and there was PsycInfo. So how many of you have used EBSCOhost databases before? A few, okay. What's nice about EBSCOhost is that it also shows all of the EBSCOhost databases, not the one that you just selected, but it also shows all of them. So if, for example, I have a psychology topic that falls into other areas, like child abuse, I might want to look at the education databases, I might want to look at the social work database, I might want to look at even a medical database, okay? But for this one, I want to make sure that I at least add the other psychology database at the same time. So I can search both of those databases, Psych Articles and PsycInfo at the same time. And I'm going to search for the next one. Weldon and Bellinger, and see if I am lucky. Sometimes it shows up. So how many did I get? Oh, I got 3. Okay. So I got 3 results when I searched Weldon and Bellinger. The first one does not show them as authors, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. This second one, though, collective memory, it's right on topic, and it says Mary Susan Weldon and Crystal Bellinger. And in EBSCOhost, the PDF is a lot easier to find. If it's there, it's right here. So so for the Weldon and Bellinger, it is right there for you.
So this is the answer for question number 3,
right?
Where it literally just says, find Weldon and Bellinger, 1997. And you can see how easy it is to actually find those articles because all we did was search for Weldon and Bellinger. There's Weldon, there's Bellinger, there's 1997. So now you found your article. And this is why when we're doing citations and you're reading citations, it's last names and year of publication. And that is typically enough to find the information. You can always flip to the reference section to get more details. But as you can see, Weldon and Bellinger, 1997, we know this is the article we're looking for. This is the one that you want to have for question number 3.
But I also wanted you to know that I switched to the EBSCOhost database on purpose because for some reason, Web of Science, it's easy to search. It's easier to search cited reference and topic in Web of Science. But if you have two authors, it's not as easy to search that in Web of Science. So when you're searching for topics, you might have to go to multiple databases to be successful. And you might find that searching some topics in the EBSCOhost site databases are easier. Some topics are easier in Web of Science. So I think it's important to become familiar with both of those. They both have strengths. They both have weaknesses. So you just to become familiar with all of the site databases and Web of Science. What's also nice about the EBSCOhost databases, they have the PDF right here, but they also have a cite feature. So that if you need to cite APA, it tells you how to do it right here. So you can just cut and paste that. In EBSCOhost also, you can add articles to a folder and then collect them all at once. You can either create a login in EBSCOhost and then keep folders with different topics in them for as long as you want. If you don't log in, if you don't create a login, you can create a folder and then send it to yourself before you get out of that session. But if you get out of that session and haven't created your own personal login, then you have to start over again. That folder disappears. But you can also email articles that you find, including the PDF attachment, to yourself. So if you, for example, are doing some searching, find a half a dozen articles and can't really decide, you could send them all to yourself and then decide later. And so that's kind of a nice feature to have.
So while we're on this citation thing, just to make sure everybody's aware of this, so you can just click here and it'll bring up the citations in a variety of different formats. The one we're using is APA. That's what we're learning in this course. And I highly encourage, use this resource, but beware, this will get you 90% of the way. It'll get you 100% of the way sometimes, and it'll get you 90% of the way all the other times.
Sometimes there are errors.
And it's up to you to just double check it and make sure that there aren't any errors. So it even says here, always consult your library resources for the exact formatting and punctuation guidelines. So this is an example of one where, from what I can tell, it's done correctly, right? So if you copy and paste this into your reference section, you will then have this article properly referenced. However, I have seen ones in the citation feature where it's done incorrectly, where things are capitalized when they shouldn't be capitalized, italics are missing when they should be there. So again, it's up to you. Use this, absolutely. Use this as the resource that it's meant to be, but double check and make sure that you're just you're not copying and pasting something.
And there is one additional kind of unique thing, mostly in APA. They use this DOI, direct object identifier. That is the unique identifier for that specific article. So this helps when you're writing your bibliography. You have this, but you also have this, so you can just copy and paste this, and it will take you back to that specific article, which is a really nice addition, I think. So you can use Web of Science to find information on your topics. You can use PsycInfo or PsycArticles. So what happens though, let me go back up and go to my list. I have to go to a bigger list, I think. Well, let's go to this one. Suppose this was something you were interested in. I don't know why, but you might be. This was an article. This is not full text, as far as I can tell. There's no HTML, there's no PDF link. So then if you still want this article, you click on the Get It button. And it may be here. So let me explain this a little bit. The article was not full text in PsycArticle or PsycInfo. It's not available in EBSCOhost. but we subscribe to a lot of different databases. So what we've done is linked other articles that we have access to the Get It button. So if you would have been an EBSCOhost and said, I only want full text, it would have eliminated this article because it wasn't full text in EBSCOhost. But it is full text in something called SD College Edition, and you can click on this and the article will be right there. So when you're doing research, the purpose of research is to find the best article that matches your criteria, whether it's the topic or the date range, something. So you're not going to want to necessarily pull just the first article that comes up. You want to find the best article. And if the best article is one that isn't full text, then you need to go through this process and see if it's here, in another database. It's also possible that this space will be blank and it says, you're out of luck, we don't have it, go away. It doesn't really say that, I don't remember what it says, but it says something like that. And then it says, if not available, get the article through interlibrary loan. How many of you have interlibrary loan accounts? And have you used them? And tell me your experience. Did you get an article? And was it fast? See? Yay. Your experience? You just signed up. Oh, well, hey, he's ahead of a lot of other people. Have you used this? Just signed up for it. Okay. I'm going to encourage everybody to sign up for it. I never remember my account number, but so for the first time users, you just fill out a little form. Name. You do need your, do we need that anymore? Maybe not. Library card number, which is on your Crimson card. It's not your, it's a longer number. It's like 14 digits or. It starts what? 240. Okay. So that's what you'll need to do that. And then once you sign up, if you live in student housing, anybody live in student housing? Darn, people don't get any of the breaks. You do though, because we deliver things to his office if he asks us to.
Well, for print. If it's a book, so if Iliad is a book that you need, that gets delivered.
If it's a journal article, you're going to get it electronic.
Yeah, and journal articles, they'll email to you. Right.
And then if you want a book source, we will get it for you, but you'll have to come into the library to pick it up. You don't have to know where it is. We will find it for you. So you fill this out, and once you're done, you go, do you know your?
No,
you
other than it's saved on my browser. That's about all I got. But definitely, I mean, this is an amazing feature. So many articles now, more modern articles, they're available in PDF form, but sometimes you're going to either find a classic article and it has not been made available online in PDF form yet, or maybe like a very new article that just hasn't, had the time to get uploaded, and you put it in, it populates all the information.
I actually remembered mine. I can't believe it.
There you go. So
this is actually has loaded that other article, even though it was there. It's loaded that article like I want to request it. So once you find something and you push the Get It button and you log into Interlibrary Loan, it just is going to ask me if I want to request this one, effects of correspondence, and I don't. If I did, I would hit the Submit button. The only thing I probably want to look at is not wanted after date. That's kind of a default, but if you need it sooner, then you need to make sure that you put that in. If they can't get it to you in that time frame, you'll get an email that says we can't get it to you. But usually the turnaround for interlibrary loan, I want to say, is a couple days at most, depending on where they're requesting the article from. Sometimes you get it the same day. Maybe if it's requested on Friday, you probably might not get it till Monday, kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's I use this resource all the time. Again, as you continue on in your psychology career, there's gonna come that day when you see that abstract for an article and it's exactly what you're looking for and it's exactly what you need and it's just gonna make your entire project and you're gonna look for the full text and it's not gonna be there. And then you're gonna go to Interlibrary Loan and they'll find it for you, scan it, and basically send you the PDF. So
Right.
I have used this, I don't know how many times, and I think they've not come up with the article maybe twice, and both those times it was some obscure German psychology, journal that I've never heard of before, and I thought I'd give it a shot. But honestly, like it's such a good resource to have, and it's found the articles that I needed so many times. I highly recommend if you don't have one, even if you don't need it for this assignment, sign up for it, get yourself one, get yourself that account.
So then, once you log in, if you have something, if you get an email that says, "Oh, your article is here," you just log back in, and it will show up here, and then you just click on it, and it's there. It's all PDF. So you are ready to go. Another hint about if you sign up, unless you're really good at remembering multiple passwords, just use your Canvas, your regular login, and your passphrase, because that's why I had to ask for help multiple times because I thought that was some animal name, I think. What else? I think the last one is to find 2 highly cited primary research articles regarding group memory. So given your choice of Web of Science or using the EBSCOhost PsycInfo PsycLit, if you have to find highly cited articles, where do you think I'm going to recommend? Web of Science, absolutely. I think that is the easiest place to use highly cited. Psych does not do that.
Now, for question number 4, they can also be very recent. So it's either or for question number 4. Either something that's highly cited, and we're talking about 30 citations or more, or something that is very recent, which wouldn't have time to get those citations. Either or will fit the criteria for question number 4.
So group memory, primary research, highly cited or recent, right? Okay, so here's highly cited. Let's see if we can find it. Let's look at this one. Collaborative recall. Whether it's highly cited or recent, it has to be primary research, right? So this one is not going to be primary research.
So can anybody see the evidence that this is not a primary research article?
What is missing from the abstract?
Or alternatively, what's in the abstract? Exactly. So right here, it goes in this paper, we review the research on group remembering. So right there, this is them saying, hey, this is a review article, which if you were looking for an overview of the area, that's great. If you're looking for the primary research, it can't be this one. So
if this were a more recent article, you could maybe look at the bibliography, right?
Mm-hmm. And that's something very important to keep in mind. For question number 2, for question number 4, is very open-ended, and there are a variety of strategies that you can use that you've seen today to kind of help you find the articles. So there's no one right way to do those two questions, but there's definitely strategies that will help you. So one challenge for especially number 4 is going to be the phrase group memory.
Mm-hmm.
So psychologists love to use the term group, not to refer to people working together in groups, but just as an organizational type of term. So what you're looking for specifically is you're looking for a study where people either remember or studied information together, collaboratively, and or remembered information collaboratively. So think about your experience in the experiment. You sat there reading the lists of words together in a group, collaboration. Then you wrote them down and worked together to recall them. Once again, collaboration. So the challenge with using the term group is that psychologists love to say things like, well, there was an 8-year-old group and there was a 6-year-old group, and subjects were run individually, but we split them into these two groups. So there was a schizophrenia group and there was an obsessive compulsive disorder group. There was a male group and there was a female group. Does not mean that they were working together at any point, which means that it's not this group memory. So there's a number of different ways that you can get around this. One is to take a look at the abstract, see if they mention collaboration, see if they mention this idea of subjects worked together, to recall this information. But the other thing that you can do is you can start with a very highly cited group memory article and see who else has cited that article. Because if you're going to do work on group memory, if you're going to do work on collaborative memory, you're going to want to cite the classic articles. So question number 3 was put in there. It's your most straightforward search. Just find Weldon and Bellinger. But Weldon and Bellinger are one of these classic articles. So if you take a look at who cited Weldon and Bellinger, chances are, again, it's not guaranteed, but it's another one of these strategies to narrow it down. Chances are whoever cites Weldon and Bellinger is doing something on group memory, is doing something on this collaboration of cognition idea. So it kind of narrows your fields down and eliminates a lot of the, well, we had the primed group and we had the non-primed group, and we tested their memory individually. It'll help you steer away from those kind of traps.
So these are the citations for that one of the most cited ones.
Mm-hmm.
But they have been just cited. So let's see if any of these work. Maybe this one. I don't know. What do you think?
Give it a shot.
All right. This one. We revisit. Let's sketch the spread. I don't think so.
Well, this one is on topic, so it does look like they're talking about collaborative memory. However, we get this review recent, which means that there's a large chance that this is not a primary research article. However, before we leave this, notice that you've been, you kind of narrowed it down, you were using your skills, you found this article. Sure, it fails at being a primary research article. Sure, it's not something that you're going to be able to upload for your assignment. However, we now have a new term, transactive memory, right? Maybe that is a good search term. Maybe if you Google transactive memory, you'll find that, oh, that's the technical term.
And then they also use this term, collaborative recall.
And they also have keywords down here. So you started off with group memory, you did a little bit of searching, now you have maybe a new term to take a look at, collaborative recall, distributed cognition.
Let's see what
so again, Use the tools that you have. Use your critical thinking skills, and don't just try. I'm just going to search for group memory, and that's how I'm going to do this assignment. Kind of go where the search leads you, and use a multiple array of tools to find an article that you're looking for.
It'll take a little playing around with stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take long to redo your search and step back and do it some more.
Yep.
So take a little time to try and play with that. So the parameters you have in that last one are the date, the topic, and then your choice of primary research, the topic,
yep.
And then you have the option of highly cited, 3 or more, or a date range.
And just be aware that when you're searching for certain terms, the terms are often used differently across different disciplines, and they'll still show up on your search. So even reconstructive memory, if you search for reconstructive memory, you will find that article about people's memory for their appearance before and after reconstructive surgery. Might have nothing to do with false memories or reconstructive memories, but reconstructive is there, memory is there, it's going to hit when you do your search. That's probably not going to happen very often with reconstructive memory. But when you put in group memory, just as a warning, the challenge is that probably half of those articles are going to have absolutely nothing to do with collaborative memory, nothing to do with people working together to either learn material or recall material. It'll just be about, we called these different sets of people groups, we tested them individually, it's about memory.
So this one, I just used this as my term, and then I did it by the most recent, and I get this one. Anybody interested in policing or relevant topic these days?
Yeah. So this is a nice example of one that fits the criteria. So we got recent enough, so we don't have to worry about the citations. Notice we got 0 citations, but that's fine. Either highly cited or recent. So we got recent enough, that's great. You start reading it right down here. 86 police officers participated. So we know that there's subjects in this report. We know that it's probably a primary research article. We would definitely want to open it up, look for that method section, look for how many males, how many females, what's the average age of these police officers. Look for that results section with jargon and statistical terms. But also notice that it goes 86 police officers participated in pairs in a live training scenario. Officers wrote a report about the incident either with their partner or individually. So this is what I'm talking about. They did this in pairs, and then they wrote it down either in pairs or individually, but that in pairs is what you're looking for. So if you find an article where people learn things together and then write it individually, that satisfies collaborative recall because they're learning it together. If they write it together or recall it together, that also satisfies it. And most of them are going to be, you learn it together, you recall it together, but there has to be that together. So if you're scanning the abstract and it doesn't have something where it says, hey, they worked in pairs, or they were placed into groups of 3, or they collaborated with each other, to recall, that's a red flag that you're probably not dealing with group memory, with collaborative memory. So you can open up the article, see the PDF, but if you cannot find somewhere in the article where they explicitly say subjects worked together, or subjects recalled together, or subjects did this together, it's not a group memory article. They'll be very explicit that they've actually put these subjects together and the subjects collaborated to do this recall.
Okay, so now you've got lots of things to do.
Yep.
If you get stuck, you can contact me. I'm happy to work with you. So if you need any other assistance, I'm happy to work with you on finding some sources. I also have a suggestion. If you find a source in Web of Science, but you can't find the PDF, take that title, cut and paste it into EBSCOhost, into the site one, and it's possibly there. And then you'll have to be able to find it back. I'll help you a little bit. You got the article there. Perfect. Oh, you don't need the article anymore? Yeah. I got one.
And just as a final note, for this assignment, you're going to, once again, in Canvas, you're going to upload the PDFs. So you're going to have 5 PDFs that you upload: the Roediger and McDermott article, the Weldon and Bellinger article, and then your answers for question 2 and question 4. So you're going to upload 5 PDFs. Make sure that they are numbered correctly. Double check them. Make sure that they're primary research. That's all going to be part of the grade that you receive. And 2 things about it. Number 1, I'm going to approve these articles for your projects going forward. Once an article is approved, that is your article. So take your time. You have until the 24th of September at midnight to find these 5 articles. So find a few for number 2, find a few for number 4, and kind of pick and choose the one that you would be most, excited about reading. Make it easier for yourself on the back end, because once you hand it in and I say, yes, this article is approved, that is your article for the research paper. So make sure that you take a little bit of time to choose the ones that you want. The second thing is that in order to write this research paper, you need to find 5 articles that fit this criteria. So when you hand in your library assignment, I'm going to grade the assignment. You're going to get a grade on that particular assignment. But if you do not find 5 articles that get approved, you will have to go back and do it again, and you have 3 attempts to re-find articles until you get 5 that are approved. So it's going to be on you. The grade that you get for the first attempt, that's your final grade for the library submission. But you will need to, if you don't get all 5 articles approved, you will need to repeat the process until you get those 5 articles approved. So again, just better to take a little bit of time. You got, again, until the 24th at midnight. Try to do it right the first time. And again, primary research fits the criteria, name it correctly. And let's hope that we can get everybody 5 out of 5 on their first attempt. So that's about it for today. So if you guys are all done, feel free to head out. Make sure that you, anybody that didn't sign in on the sign-in sheet, you can come up and I'll give you that.
I will send you.
Otherwise, we're done for today. So again, you have until the 24th. This is something that you can find articles. It'll take you about half an hour to just find any old article. So give yourself a little bit more time, because you will need to read these articles. So again, take a little bit of time over the next few days, find articles that you're going to enjoy reading, and upload those, and you'll be done the assignment. Other than that, I'll see you next class.